So I believe you remember the three questions. How liberation means freedom or nirvana is attained. How knowledge is attained, knowledge of the reality, and how dispassion is attained. So you see, when we start thinking of a friend, object, or enemy during listening, we will not understand anything what we are discussing. That is not being a seeker. Simply words will enter the mind, meaning will not enter the mind. Clarity and conviction will not be there. And mind should not be calm, relaxed. Mind should be calm and relaxed in order to be receptive. And to be receptive, we allow these words and its meaning to enter deeper within, leads to dispassion. So, dispassion is the first. Pain and pleasure in thought in the mind. That is important before we go to this verse. You see a person, mind says this person is an enemy. So how that person becomes an enemy? It is a thought in the mind. All experiences takes place in the mind. You look at another guy, he is my friend. So it is that idea, that thought in the mind that he is my friend. It is taking place inside the body, in the mind. But what happens? The mind goes outside, it blames, it categorizes, it labels that object, that person is good, bad, high, low. It takes our mind from dispassion. We enter into passion. Two things. One more thing to understand before we take a bondage caused in the mind. Bondage or liberation or the knowledge of the reality takes place in the mind. So we are taking up the bondage caused in the mind by objects, people, and things. Why? Because we depend on others psychologically. There is a psychological dependence and there is a physical dependence. These two are different things. So when there is a psychological dependence, ego takes over. And that ego destroys the intellect. So then there is no clarity, then there is no conviction. That strengthens the ego. We become the doer and the enjoyer. And as long as we are the doer and the enjoyer, we live in delusion, we live in passion. So there is no dispassion. So I have answered two questions: how the dispassion is attained and how the knowledge of the reality is attained. Now let us take this verse. The verse is Tvaya vyaptam idam vishwam tvai protam yathartatha. What the master says? Master says, you pervade this universe, and this universe exists in you. You are really pure consciousness, Shuddha Buddha Swarupam. You are really pure consciousness by nature. Why? Because of passion you are in bondage. Why you have created a psychological bondage? That is why I gave the introduction of this verse. So He says, Ma gamaha chudra chittatam. Why you became small-mindedness? What is small-mindedness? He is my friend, he is my enemy, I like this is my house is big, I have lots of money, I don't have money. So when the mind is constantly living with reference to the objects outside, causes dependence. Dependence brings the doer and the enjoyer. And that doer and the enjoyer is a delusion. And it is happening in the mind. Throw it away. So the master is saying, throw it away for a while. It is all psychological. It is all mental. It is all coming from the mind. It is all coming as a thought, as an idea. Can you drop it? And the moment you drop it, you realize that you are pure consciousness. You are what he says, Shuddha Buddha Swarupam Tvam. You are pure. Huh? You are pure. You are only consciousness, and that is your nature. So here the master is saying, when we are narrow-mindedness, our heart is narrow, we find the mind gets limited. What is that limitedness? Because of the attachment and detachment. Because of that attachment and detachment, there is a passion. And because of the passion, we become the doer and the enjoyer. And when we are doer and the enjoyer, we live into that delusion. And the delusion causes the bondage. Once we drop it, we are there in that state of choiceless awareness. See one example. For 1 hour, I am present and you are present. After 1 hour, I am absent for you all, you are absent for me all, but still I exist. What is that I? That is aware in presence and absence of objects, people, things outside. In sleep, house is gone. We don't even know in which bedroom, on which bed. That may be costing thousands of dollars. We don't know. I am still present in that sleep. In a waking state, I am also present. Who is that? I. So the master here declares, he doesn't say you discover. Master says that is pure awareness. That is pure consciousness. And when you know it, you are in the state of meditation. Real nature, I am. True nature, I am. Attachment and detachment of the mind cannot find our real nature. Why? Because we are different from attachment and detachment, pain and pleasure. Why we are different? Because they are the experiences in the mind, but mind is our instrument and we are behind and beyond that mind. You see, logical sequence, clarity is there. Eastern wisdom is not what is proved by other means. What are the other means? By the sense organs, by the mind. I have given that example hundred of times. There is a dark room and I ask you to go there and find who is there. So you return. You say it's total darkness. There is no one there. So who is reporting me that there is no one there? You are there. You are present. So our mind, due to the attachment, due to detachment, due to passion, due to the ego sense, is constantly running in the world outside, and it loses sight of who am I. So Master is saying, Shuddha Buddham, Shuddha Buddha, Shuddha Buddha Swarupam Tvam. Why you have small narrow-mindedness in the heart? With all this attachment and detachment, likes and dislikes with an object, they will come, they will go. Find out what is your true nature. And your true nature, he is answering, it is pure consciousness. You are pure awareness, Shuddham. You are pure, you are awareness, and you are Swarupam. The true nature is your pure consciousness. So what he is saying, one more thing, he is saying that division and the duality is false. I am different from you. What is the standpoint? When that ego sits in the body, intellect does not bring the clarity, then we say we are different from each other. What is that different between this body and yours? Just see that it is all made up of the matter. Due to the pigmentation, it is only someone is white, other is not. Because of the age, but ultimately it is all matter. So he is pointing also one more very important thing. He says, find out where your ego sits. There you build an ego sense, and that takes you away from the reality. When the ego sits in the I, what happens? I see this object is good in shape and form. This object is not good in shape and form. When the ego sits in the nose, then it says, this smells good, this is not good. You see the division? When the ego sits in the senses, it is all about the objects. And when the ego sits in the mind, with the likes and dislikes, with the passion, it leads to delusion. And when this intellect or sits in the knowledge, it sits in awareness, then what happens? The delusion is gone, it brings the knowledge, and that knowledge brings the clarity and conviction. What is that knowledge? That I am pure awareness. I am my real nature. I am pure consciousness. So it is that intellect, where it sits, we get the same kind of a perception. Shuddha Buddha Swarupam. One word, and now he directly hits our mind. Gam Chudra Chittatam. Why we have narrow-mindedness? It means every passion, if we don't have a dispassion, on Thursday we covered in a different perspective based on Patanjali. So here it is based on the teaching of this master who says the moment you find narrow-mindedness, you find conflict, you find division, you find attachment, you find likes and dislikes. Where in your mind? It is narrow-mindedness. Now we have a different definition of narrow-mindedness in the world. So he says the moment you have those symptoms, find out, break that narrow-mindedness, and mind will be clear. Intellect will pick up the wisdom, and you will realize, I am pure awareness, I am pure consciousness. There is another way to put it. The real self, to know the real self means divorce from all the relations, first step. Divorce from all the relations because relations are based on ignorance. So, first step, the real self means to know the real self. First step means divorce from all the relations, means dispassion needs to be attained. Then, second step, now I have to know what is the real nature, how the knowledge of the reality is attained. So once you have the knowledge of the reality in a meditative state, then what happens? That real self perceives only one pure consciousness pervading everywhere. So then there is no question of building a relationship. If there are two, then only we build a relationship. Do you see this point? Do you get this point? In the first step, when we have an attachment and detachment, then only we build relationship. So in that delusion, we find that you are different from me, I am different from you, I love you and you love me. That love is attachment. So we build a relationship, we become a soulmate, and after a few months, we become a sourmate, and the journey continues. So first, that is why Master says, how dispassion is attained. And the second step, now I know. Oh, it is the play of the mind. Knowledge of reality. Oh, it is the play of the mind. That is why I started. That I am present when you are there. I am also present when you are not there. So I know that there is something within me which is constantly present in the presence and absence of an object outside. So I live at the highest level of dispassion. The knowledge dawns in me, and freedom is here and now. So in that freedom, the Master says, what the Master says, Shuddha Buddham, Shuddha Buddha Swarupam Tvam Magam Chudra Chattamam. So he has integrated all the three answers of the three questions together. Don't be narrow-minded. So don't think that we are talking of narrow-minded in a worldly sense. Narrow-minded, you have some symptoms of anxiety because of the ego is sitting in some object or a person. That is why you have an ego sense. That is why it is hurting you. That is why, because of that, we are narrow-minded. So just see that, contemplate and reflect on that. So the more we reflect on this, all the three questions are answered here. How the dispassion? No, how to know, go. No, Master says the moment you have symptoms, you experience some anxiety, duality, conflict, division in your mind. That is what you are in a passion. Passion means you are in attachment and detachment. The mind has become narrow-minded. Break the shell of being narrow-minded. So then move to the knowledge. What is the knowledge? Let the intellect let the ego sits into the knowledge and the wisdom. What is that wisdom? That I am pure consciousness alone. That is what many people talk about, choiceless awareness. I need not to do anything. I need not to practice anything. I need to understand. But if we are not a seeker, we grasp the words only. When we are a seeker, we grasp the meaning. We are receptive. So at this moment, if you are thinking of something else, some friends, some objects, an agenda after that, then you are not a seeker. What a beautiful verse. Remember, after 20 verse of the first chapter, when we move into the second chapter, yes, in the beginning, compare what kind of a seeker the Janaka was, whom this master was teaching, where he reached, and where we have reached. So let us start let us start our practice now. That practice is a non-practice.